You know, it's funny because even this question, how does one? This how to do? It's a misleading thing. Mostly, it's good when you don't know how to live. When you don't know how to live, life is seen in its unfolding reality. We've learned and studied, what is the best way to live life. Actually, the truth is, there's nobody living life. There's just life. You are life. How do you live life? You are life. There's an idea we have that there's a way of living life, and then you start to feel I'm a failure, I don't do really well. Life is living you. It's like you're just finding yourself as this movement each day. How do you know? Do you know before a thought occurs in your mind? Did you know about it? It just pops up. And for many cases, some thoughts, they arise and it is as though they snap your finger and you give attention to them. Some people, they act on almost every thought that come in their head, and you can see they're kind of restless. Thoughts of, this guy's not very good, and this place is a bit noisy. Yeah, this place is a bit noisy. And they're just acting out your thoughts. In another position, people have thoughts that come all the time, and they're aware of them, but they don't dominate. Because it's only like this as you become more aware of your stillness, and that you come to know, I am not my thoughts. There's an awareness of it, and this awareness can become so steady and in a state of self-recognition that even if the mind is experiencing a tsunami of thoughts, still there's a stillness, like you are the nucleus of all of that. This is what I'm speaking. It's not poetry, it's a truth. But if you are very much invested in this kind of inner journalist monitoring how life looks and how I am doing, and this kind of comparative thinking, then you will get the sense of being swept up in that. The more you are aware of that space of just awareness, of observing with detachment, the more your vision will be more broad, more panoramic, less pulled into the noise of identity. Actually, we can experience all this existence without strong identification with anything. But our culture doesn't encourage that. It's like we're not aware.
But sometimes there's this physical wave and knock of grief.
Okay, so it's still with you, this thing that sometimes there's a intense attack of grief, or intense wave, she says, of grief. What do you do? Fully experience it. Fully experience it. Much better than trying to resist it. Sometimes it's important to come to a place where you feel total powerlessness. In our culture, there's so much conditioning to say, you must avoid this, don't go there, because that means that you are really collapsed. But it is very important to come to that state and feel a place of total helplessness. Sometimes life gives you that gift of total helplessness, a state where you just have to abandon. You run out of moves, there are no moves left, and somehow you find, you know what? I'm still here. It hasn't replaced me. There's a fear that something is going to be too big, it's too much for me, but this is just a thought. And if it is believed in, it will feel like, no, I can't cope, and this very attitude will give you a sense of being overwhelmed and about to blow a fuse or something. But if you just say, okay, come, but I'm going to keep my eyes open every moment. I just want to see what happened. And don't resist. Just observe. Then you'll find something that up until then probably you're missing. It's not such a bad thing. In this body, consciousness has such a powerful potential. to experience from the most simple thing to the most gross and intense experiencing, and you see that everything passes. Everything passes. And can I tell you a little story? Yeah, I don't know if you like stories. I love stories. I love stories. Once there was one king, and he had a dream one night. And in this dream, he felt that he needed to find an understanding, an insight, a message, a teaching or something that would really be his complete refuge in any moment of crisis. Then he could turn to this message and he will find comfort in it. So he woke up next morning and he called all his wise counselors together and he told them of his dream, and he said, I really felt like really helpless and whatever, no? And I just want you guys to get together with all your wisdom, all your experience, and find me something, maybe a sentence or a word, that in my most severe crisis I could look at this word and it will bring me peace. He says, okay, Your Majesty, okay. So they contemplated for a very long time. And then finally they came to something. And they said, okay, sir, what we have done is we have made a message for you. And we have put it in your ring. The king had a ring that could open. And we have put this message inside your ring. Okay, because the king says, I don't want to read it. I don't want to cheat. Alright? I just want to leave it there. And my heart now is content that in any situation that I'm in a total crisis, I'll be able to read what this message is. And he says, thank you, well done. I don't know what you've written, well done. Time passed, years have passed, and then so happens that this king and his army got into conflict with another kingdom, and war was inevitable. And there they were now on the battlefield. And the war, the sound of the trumpets, and the horses, they're ready. They went, and they are fighting. This king, his army was being thrashed, basically. He was being overwhelmed. And when it was clear now that he had no way of beating his enemy, some of his captains came and said, sir, take these men, your most treasured servants, and hit for the hills, because we were getting a thrashing. Now it's time to have a retreat. Not a silent retreat, but so then it was about 15 men together. They made off and they went. And the others stayed fighting and they were almost finished, the army. Now the king and his 15 men are going out, getting out to get away. And the enemy is behind them, chasing them. First it was only a mile, and they were closing in on them. Every now and again, one of the soldiers, they fell, and they were dropping like flies. Eventually only 2 of them left, and the king was here. Right. The horses are tired, the king is tired, everybody's tired, and the enemy is closing in. The last man fell. Only the king now left, and he's coming, and the army is closing down. The enemy is closing in, and finally he comes to the edge of a cliff, and there is no way to go, nowhere to go. And he turned around and he sees like the enemy now is like just a bit further than the gate. So he steps off his horse and he sat down in a lotus position, and he's sitting there because there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. There's no friends. No last emails. Just he has to wait. He's alone. No queen, no children, nothing. And then suddenly he remembers the message. He says, yes, it has to be a moment like this. Because I'm run out of moves. What I must do. So he took his ring and he opens the ring and he finds a message in it. And the message says, this also will pass. This moment also will pass. Then he met his final surrender. Okay, what to do? He waited for them. Now, it doesn't sound a very beautiful story. Yeah? But actually, the point is, whatever you can experience, whatever you see or imagine, anything that is phenomenally appearing for you, including this body, everything is passing. But there is something which is not passing. And the opportunity in the life is to find that which is not passing. This body also will pass. This is a time body. This is a mortal body, but an immortal being is living in it. And it seems like it has forgotten itself and taking itself to be the mortal body. Fear comes. One day this body will finish and I will be finished. So this life is for finding out, is this true or not? Everything, you are the witness of everything that comes and goes. You cannot be what comes and goes, because if you are that which comes and goes, when it goes, you will be gone. But you are here to witness the passing of all thoughts, emotions, time, every phenomenon. Who can you be? Who watches even time, even memory also? You are the observer of memory. You are not in the bubble of memory. Just your ideas about who you are is in the bubble of memory, but you are the witness of memory, witness of intellect, witness of imagination, witness of the senses, witness of the breath, witness of body, witness of the world, witness of consciousness even. Even the most sacred principle, the feeling I am, something witnesses even that. What is that? What can witness that which witnesses even I am?